opinions and experiences shared in this podcast are just that, our personal opinions and experiences, and may not reflect official standards of practice. This podcast does not take the place of professional therapy. If you are struggling with mental health, please reach out to a provider near you. The subjects discussed in this podcast may include trauma, abuse, alcohol and drug abuse, anxiety, depression, suicide, and other subjects that may cause emotional reactions. We may also use language not suitable for young ears. The purpose of this podcast is to have frank discussions about mental health in order to show people it's okay to think differently, give people power to change their own lives, and break down barriers between mental health professionals and the rest of the world. Thanks for listening.
Well, welcome back to our Good to Hear podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about pregnancy and like the process of getting pregnant and while being pregnant and birth and all that fun stuff. My name's Melissa. I'm your host. I am 28. I don't have any kids out here in the world yet, but we are expecting our first one, and we are 19 weeks. So was that 5 months?
Almost.
Something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah. And yeah, so today I have with me.
My name's Emily. My age, I am, 28 now. Yeah, 28. And then I have 3 little boys, and the first one, I was 18 when I gave birth to him.
Yeah.
Yep, and then 21, and then 27.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. He's a year old. So.
Yeah.
My name is Ashley. I'm 30. I have 1 little boy, and I was 28 when I had him.
Yeah.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. All right. So we got 2 that started a little late, 1 that started a little early.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll kind of go through this process from like very beginning to all the way to the end. So I want to start with like, did you guys always know that you wanted to be parents? Did you always know that kids were in your future? Or was it like something that came along later? Or how did you decide it was the right time? That kind of thing.
I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Didn't really plan on it being that early, but I definitely always knew that kids were in my future. Matthew, my husband, and I had talked about it a lot, about how many kids we wanted. Granted, we didn't, of course you can't, pick the gender, but when you're talking your dreams and everything, we
I want 1 girl and 1 boy, one of each.
Yeah. Well, see, we always wanted 3, but we wanted like boy, girl, boy, or, boy, boy, girl, or, something like that. But no, we got 3 little boys, and they're fantastic and crazy and everything. But, let's see, as far as like deciding, we didn't decide when we got pregnant. It happened. The first time. It just happened. And then, let's see, the second one was definitely poorly planned. As well as I can say it. Like I knew I wanted another baby. It was just it really wasn't
the right
time, because as soon as my husband had just, graduated boot camp and everything for the Marine Corps, and he was in school, and we moved to where he was at, and I got pregnant, and which we had planned on. But then literally like 2 days after we found out we were pregnant, he found out he was deploying.
Oh, so it wasn't like poor planning because you
life
knew stuff.
What was I saying?
It ended up being not a great idea.
Well, I mean, like we heard up in the air that there was a possibility the unit.
That's always.
Yeah, exactly. So we took a chance, and
it didn't work out.
It didn't work out very well. So
mine was kind of poorly planned too. So.
and then Aiken was. We had been talking about getting pregnant again. My husband kept saying that he wasn't ready, and then it was just a whim decision. Like, yep. It wasn't even a yet, let's do it. It was more of a,
plan B this time.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
We're going to not try.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, and yeah, fortunately, I'm one of those people that apparently is extremely fertile. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
All right. What about you, Ashley? You always know?
I mean, I don't. It's something I kind of came into as I got older, because, I mean, I've been with my husband since I was 15. So obviously at 15, I wasn't really thinking about having kids.
I want to have your babies.
Yeah, no, there was none of that. At that point, I wasn't even sure I wanted to be married ever. But as we were together longer, I was like, I want to have kids eventually. I mean, I didn't really know how many I wanted or anything like that, but I didn't want to be like my own parents who had kids really young. So I kind of wanted to enjoy my young adulthood. But now there's benefits to both, obviously, because now my parents aren't even 50 and their kids are grown and out of the house. So
Yeah, Emily makes that joke a lot.
I make that joke all the time. Oh yeah, when I'm 46 or whatever, that's when I'm gonna party.
Yeah.
And we'll have what, teenagers?
Yeah.
Well, no.
I mean,
you'll have early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, my kids also get to enjoy having young grandparents. My my mom could sit in the floor and play with her grandson and not be like, oh, I can't get out. My dad's a different story, but he's crippled anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay. And so then it came down to it.
So we had decided that we were going to start trying, but you read everything and it's like, yeah, it takes 6 months to a year for healthy couples to conceive. And I'm like, okay, this is a good time to start trying. We can save up to get a house and everything. It only takes once. I guess we're both also very fertile people. I should have known though, since, both have very large families.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because it took John and I quite a while. What was it? 9 months to get one to stick. So we fell in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just shows it can go either way. So you definitely, I mean, you're never going to be fully prepared to have a kid, but make sure that you're not struggling. If it's not all pregnancies are planned. I mean, I wasn't planned.
I was gonna say, if every person on this planet was not or was properly planned, then
we'd have a much lower population.
Yes, exactly.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of different than the both of you. I didn't want kids. I kind of knew that very early on. I had a lot of experience with like Cub Scout age, so first grade and up kids and teenagers and stuff. And I knew I wanted to work with kids. But the idea of being a mom, I don't know, never really appealed to me.
A lot of responsibility.
Yeah, and lots of needing. Like, I don't know.
It's Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert even as a parent.
Right. So, like, I saw that and I knew that. And, like, my mom was a fantastic mom. So it wasn't like I was awesome. Like, let me not be a mom because my examples suck. No, she's great.
She is role model mom, honestly.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
And then as I got a little older and started dating John in high school, I was like, and I knew that he really wanted kids. And so at first I was like, oh, we'll just see where this goes. Whatever. Neither one of us were planning on marrying each other.
Yeah.
But I knew he really wanted kids. So I started thinking and I was like, I could go either way. Like if I got pregnant, okay.
For you, do you feel like it was the fact that your friends had kids and you were kind of exposed to them a little more personally that warmed you up to it? Or?
No, kind of the opposite. Because I saw it's difficult. Being a parent is hard. Like, I don't get how people look at people with children and like all they see is like romanticism and beautiful. Like, I just see.
I think I was straight with you when it came to a newborn.
Yeah, like it's hard.
I joked, but I was straight. I was like, it's legitimately a form of torture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like, I never.
Like, when people would be like, yeah, but it was all worth it, right? And at that time, I was just like.
I know that's what people say about pregnancy right now, and I'm like, I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, like but I was also really uncomfortable around small children. Like I worked in a portrait studio, and I didn't touch the small children. When friends,
the first newborn I touched was my own child.
Yeah.
I mean,
when friends around me in high school, and that might have been part of why I did not want to get pregnant, is because I went to a high school where there was a high rate of teenage pregnancy, and I saw how hard that was, and saw how all their goals just got trashed. Like they couldn't do a lot of what they wanted to do. Like these girls had plans to go to college and or travel and do all these things, and then they just didn't follow through with it, which as an adult looking back, like that is their personal choice and not necessarily a product of
because
getting
we've
pregnant.
known people that have
been successful.
Yes.
Yeah. And
our own parents. I
right.
mean,
Yeah. So it's definitely a mindset, but I wasn't thinking like that at the time. And so I saw those things and I wasn't really comfortable around babies. Babies didn't really like me. Like my mom could smile at a kid and they would smile back and get all giggly. I smile at a kid and they
she
start
emits
crying.
some pheromone that
Like I was like, okay, obviously this is not for me. And like a lot of women, I think, get when they hear a kid crying, they get that like, oh, I want to help. And I'm like, get it away, make it stop.
like, where's your adult?
Right. Like I just don't know what to do. My instinct is not to be pulled towards a child crying. And like, I feel like it makes me sound like a psychopath. But,
I mean, I'm still like that and I have a child.
yeah. Yeah. So I was just like, obviously, like I just don't have that maternal bone. Like I can care for people, I can help people, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, John really wanted kids. And so I started kind of coming around to the idea, and I was more ambiguous, like, or not ambiguous, ambivalent. Like if I had a kid, cool. I think that would be awesome. I think I'd be okay at being a parent, only mess them up a little bit. But I'm also like, if we never had kids, I'd be okay with that. Totally okay. I don't feel like I would be super sad about it. 'Cause like you said, I have a lot of friends who have kids. So it's not like I'm
never around them.
Yeah. And so like,
you'd be the awesome aunt.
Yeah. Like I was cool with that role.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like but as John and I got more serious, he was like, no, I really do want kids. And I was like, okay, do I not want kids bad enough not to be with him? No.
Because that's a decision you have to make. If one person seriously wants kids and the other one doesn't.
Then,
Yep. That's a deal breaker.
Not to put your other brother's personal business out there, but that was his main thing when dating. He does not want children.
Kids. Yeah. So
at all.
Don't be with someone who doesn't want them or does want them. Yeah. So like I said, I was kind of in the middle, and I decided that I wanted to be with him more than I didn't want to be a parent, because both appealed to me. I was in the middle.
Yeah.
And so. But he is one that's like, he wanted to get pregnant before we were married. And I was like, no. No. So our decision, we decided to get pregnant very soon after we got married, because we got married, we'd been together for 10 years.
Yeah.
And our goal, all romantic and whatnot, was to get pregnant on our honeymoon. And that did not happen. And then, so that was like March of 2019 that we really started trying. I'd been off birth control since December. And so we stopped being careful in March, April. And then we got pregnant a little bit in June or July, I think. A little bit. It didn't stick. It was one of those like chemical pregnancies. And then it didn't stick until November, I guess technically, when I got pregnant, because I found out the beginning of December. So it took from March or April until November for us. And boy, that was a hard time. Because I don't know, you read all the things and you understand mechanically how this shit is supposed to work.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't. And then you don't have any control over that.
Yeah.
And so it is hard. And I realized there was some health stuff affecting that. And I would talk to doctors and be like, what is wrong with me? And they're like, there's nothing wrong. It just takes some time. And I'm like, no. Like I read the books. I did the research.
Like I got this down to a science.
Right. We're doing it correctly. So I don't, no.
Legs are in the air.
Right. I followed every wives' tale.
Oh yeah.
Like I was eating the things that they said. At a certain point, I was like just all wives' tales. Like fuck science. Yeah. Obviously, it's not working. All wives' tales. And like just doing whatever we could. And it wasn't until we gave up that I was like, this is our last month.
And that's how it is a lot of times.
Yeah. I hear that a lot. I was like, this is our last month, because it was taking a toll on me, and we were about to be at the holidays, and I was like, I don't want to go through your birthday and Christmas and New Year's
worrying about this.
Yeah, worrying and being stressed. And like I just want to take
maybe I want to drink over the holidays.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that is literally the most stressed I've ever seen you. Was while y'all were trying.
Well, because I knew, and John and I had a lot of conversations about this, and I was like, I I feel like I have a lot of pressure on me because he wants it so badly. Not that he was putting pressure on me, and he made that very clear. It's like, as long as it takes, like, we're good.
You were putting pressure on yourself.
Yeah, because like I wanted to do this for him, and like I couldn't, and so I put a lot of that on myself. Yeah, it's lots of pressure, which makes it so much easier to get pregnant when you put a lot of pressure on yourself. Yeah. So it was
when you're already a stressed person in general. So
just add a little more on there.
Let's just top it off.
Yeah.
See what happens.
But the good side of that, I think, is I did start taking my physical health more seriously.
Yeah.
And I had an issue with my neck for so long that I went ahead and I started focusing on that and getting that resolved, or trying to figure out what it was. Got back in control of my thyroid stuff, was exercising, was watching what I eat.
Because you weren't even on thyroid meds originally when you were trying to get pregnant.
No, I thought I'd fixed it. I did not. It's not
But things are great now.
Yes, things are going really well.
Take your meds.
So yeah, our process was a little more frustrating and took quite a bit longer. But on the other hand, a lot faster and a lot less frustrating than other people.
Yeah.
And your pregnancy's been
very, yes.
I mean, you were sick a lot for the the beginning of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was great. Yeah. So that was deciding, and then getting pregnant, and then I don't know what comes next.
The baby.
Yeah. I guess being pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that? What was that like for you guys?
I mean, mine was really boring, super easy. I didn't even have morning sickness. So
Oh my gosh.
I was just lucky. For me, like, first finding out I was pregnant, I mean, I was happy because I, was ready to have kids. It happened a lot sooner than I anticipated. But I was also worried because genetically twins run in my family.
Oh.
But I also found out that since they're on my dad's side, they don't really have as much effect because, my dad doesn't ovulate. So.
Right.
Yeah. But then I ended up not having twins. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. One's enough, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I did have an issue with my kidney, but that resolved itself within 2 weeks before I could even go see the urologist. It fixed itself, and it was just positioning.
Yeah. What about you?
Let's see. Well, each one of them was different. Anthony, which is my oldest, I was pretty sick the first trimester and the last trimester. I had that, sweet spot in the second and whatnot. And so I ended up what they called on homebound, because I was still in high school. I was a junior. And so I was pretty much staying at home doing all my homework, and I had a lady that would come and I'd turn my stuff in to her and whatnot. And then luckily he was born in May, which is when our school gets out. So he was born, and then
you had the summer.
Yeah, I had the summer
to go through the worst part.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I started back my senior year with him going to a family friend, and finished out my senior year, although my school really didn't want me to. They kept trying to force me to go to one of the let's see, I don't think
like homeschool sort of things.
There was one called like Lighthouse that we have that was kind of more homeschool based, but then they just didn't want their dropout rate to go up.
So they felt like maybe you would drop out if you continued to stay in school.
Which wasn't the case, because like I even went to them afterwards and I was like, look, I realize I'm going to have a lot of issues with, I was in CP classes, college prep classes. I dropped down to regular classes. I made it as easy as possible my senior year so that I would graduate.
Was teen pregnancy like uncommon at your school?
There was probably 2 or 3 of us in my senior year.
At our high school, it was like 40%.
Yeah.
As I say, yes.
So, honestly, there were girls in 8th grade that were pregnant.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. No. Yeah. We were a little, hick country school, so.
I remember graduating, and there were people who were pregnant with their second child. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. See, I've heard of people, like we had a guy in the class above us, he had multiple baby mamas, but I never like met the girls. I didn't know their kids, anything like that. But yeah, I think there were 2 or 3 of us that graduated that had kids.
Yeah.
But they didn't try to put him in a different school.
No, of course not. Anyways, and then
That's a different issue.
Yeah.
Later.
let's see, Ashton. I did not have morning sickness with him. Towards the end, I did get like acid reflux really bad.
Yeah. I think that's just because you're out of room.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And then Aiken, I was sick with him. I ended up dehydrated in the hospital because I couldn't keep anything down.
Yeah.
Your body was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep. And that's why I kept swearing up and down, he's a girl. He's a girl. He's a girl. He's a girl. Like,
Yeah.
Yep. I really thought that it was going to be a girl just because of how sick I was. All the the
Apparently
wise
Matthew
tells.
likes making little boys.
I guess so. I know. That's why he keeps saying, if you want a little girl, you're going to have to find somebody else. 'Cause I don't produce little girls.
Say, I only pass on X's and Y's. I don't pass on 2 X's.
So, but yeah, they were all very different. Pretty easy as far as, just, I mean, you have your typical, I'm tired, I'm, sore, I feel like a huge elephant.
It's just generally uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, Anthony was the most, I guess, eventful.
Did
one.
you ever feel hormonal at all?
Oh
in any
yeah,
of
my
yours?
husband could tell
Yeah.
you straight up. He did not like me while I was pregnant.
I was
With
not
all 3?
hormonal at all.
With all 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Heck, for the last 2, it wasn't really around.
Yeah.
I swear the last one is possibly I say is by choice because he chose a job that took him out of town.
He's like, I've been through this before.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
It was very coincidental that he went from working, at a job where he came home every night to as soon as we got pregnant, like 2 or 3 weeks later, he was like, I'm back on the road, sweetheart.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So,
Have fun.
but he, but no, I guess my most eventful one was Anthony. At the very beginning, like literally a week or 2 after I found out that I was pregnant with him, he tried to detach.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so I ended up bleeding and ran to the, my mom took me to the hospital and, of course I'm, my school, we weren't allowed our cell phones, so I snuck in the bathroom and pulled out my cell phone. It's like, Mom, you gotta come get me.
I'm old. I don't think I didn't have a cell phone.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she took me to the hospital and, of course, the nurse was she had horrible bedside manner. Oh, sweetheart, you're young. This one doesn't stick. It's, you still have time.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I was just boo-hooing.
Of course.
And
She needs to go back through some
yes.
mental health training.
Right.
yeah, something like that's not what you
Jeez.
tell somebody. I mean, granted, yes, I was young because when I got pregnant with him, I was 17. And then I had, of course, a birthday while I was pregnant with him. But so she, luckily, the ultrasound tech, she was great, and she did a internal ultrasound. She's like, everything looks good. We still hear a heartbeat. Everything seems fine. And then from then on, it was smooth sailing. It took a little while to find the right OB that I wanted to stick with, and once I found them, I have not left them.
Do you feel like the other ones were maybe stigmatizing you, or was it just their?
I don't know. I just didn't really care about, I guess, like their demeanor. But the doctor that I had with Anthony, I came back home because we were stationed in North Carolina. I came back home since Matthew was deployed, and he delivered Ashton. And then this last one, I switched my insurance because I didn't take what he took. Because I was like, nope, I don't want to go to anybody else. He knows me. He knows what's going on. Yeah. I trust him. So, yeah, I switched our insurance to make sure that I was able for him to, deliver Aiken. And I don't plan on going to anybody else as long as he stays doing what he's doing.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah. I guess I'm about halfway. But, I had a lot of morning sickness at the beginning. A lot of nausea. I only threw up a handful of times. But a lot of nausea. Just constant nausea.
Which is almost worse because you're like, I wish I would just puke
do
and
something
get it
with
over
it.
with.
Yeah. No, it was awful. And the smell of meat was awful.
Food aversions.
Ooh, I just could not. It was.
There's a problem when she's like, no, I can't smell bacon.
No bacon, the steak, nothing. So yeah, I've lost 10 pounds since becoming pregnant, and it's not what is supposed to happen. But it does, because you don't want to eat, and then you're throwing up. And
and you're on your meds now, and everything's regulated as well. I'm
for
sure
sure.
that is probably playing a factor into that.
Got
too.
that thyroid under control for sure. Helps a lot. I don't think I've been very hormonal. I mean, it's easier for me to cry or to get to a point where I feel like crying.
But you're always kind of sensitive a little bit. I don't really feel like you have been.
There was a week, and I think it was mostly because I wasn't sleeping very well, that I was just getting angry at everything.
Yeah.
And I ended up having to take a time out. I was like, I'm picking fights with people. I don't need to be around anyone. I need to just be home. And that was a weird week. But I firmly believe, and even more now that I am pregnant, that women do not get a pass to act like crazy jerks while they're pregnant. Yes, your hormones are going crazy. Yes, maybe you can't always control what you're feeling or what sets you off, but you always have absolute control over what comes out of your mouth. Or how you treat people.
As I say, and
people are going to be nice to you, but you shouldn't feel like they need to treat you like a princess.
Oh no.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't want to tell anyone. I wanted them to, because I don't want the attention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for me, I guess it would be easier, especially with already having 2 kids or whatever. I'd get stressed easier or overwhelmed easier. And so I'm trying to make it a point where whenever I would be like that, Matthew of course would try to help me out as much as possible, and then I would go back and I'm like, I'm sorry. And I still do that to this day. Like I'm sorry that how I was feeling, how I was acting. I'll try to get myself under better control. Try to make sure it doesn't happen again, or of course it happens again. But just I'm thank you for helping me out, because I don't want to lose it.
At least you had a supportive person. Partner.
Yes. Yeah, my anxiety has been up in weird ways, like weird dreams, weird things that I've become fixated on or afraid of.
You had a weird dream about me, and I was like, what?
Oh yeah. That you just absolutely hated me and all this stuff. And there was and I think this dream is very common with pregnancy. Twice now I have woken up, or I've had a dream where I wake up and I'm either in a pool of blood or I am bleeding, and miscarrying being the fear.
Yeah.
And no one is taking me seriously. I try to go tell people and they're just laughing at me. The most recent dream I had was I woke up and I felt like something was wrong. And then I walked out into the living room and started bleeding. And it was a comical amount of blood. It was ridiculous. And I told John, and he just kind of laughed and was like, oh, we'll go to the doctor. And so we went to the ER, and the lady was like, well, here's a 2-week prescription for Xanax. Call me in 2 weeks. I was like,
oh my God.
What? Yeah. And I was like, do you not see the blood? And she was like, it's just stress. And I was like, I don't think so. But I am a researcher, and so I would, Google things like that, and I like to read other people's stories, and it's just so many people have that, especially in early pregnancy when things can just suddenly go wrong for no reason. And in your first time, you don't really know what to expect or what feels normal or what things are supposed to feel like, and so you kind of.
And then if you've been around other people who have had difficulties,
yeah, you kind of are on edge a little bit. But there's been weird anxieties, God, I don't know. Will we get the nursery set up in time?
The baby's not going to sleep in the nursery anyway.
Right, exactly.
So.
Yeah. It's silly things like that. I'm just why am I panicking about it? Why is my heart rate just going crazy? So, and I already had anxiety before getting pregnant, and so a lot of this has just been calm down. This is nothing.
Pregnancy is really long. I mean,
yeah. Yes.
And it's not, because I feel like
and it's not.
I was just 8 weeks and I was like, God, this is taking forever. And now I'm almost 20 weeks and I'm like, oh, you can slow down. It's okay.
Well, that's because the baby started moving. You're like, no mind.
Yeah. That's been really weird. I don't know. Again, I'm not somebody who is like always wanted to be pregnant. I don't find pregnancy
that
to be
has always
magical.
creeped you out too. The baby moving.
Well, I've always said, as soon as I get pregnant, just knock me out, wake me up in 9 months. We'll be all right. Why can't we find like a incubation machine to do this outside of our bodies? Yeah, it is super weird. Hearing the heartbeat though, I don't really care to know what's going on inside and stuff, but hearing the heartbeat has been really cool. And I look forward to being able to hear it. I don't need to see it. Like we got an ultrasound, our anatomy ultrasound recently, and there was a point where like the ultrasound tech was trying to get a picture of the baby's face, and like it kept like going in and coming out, and it's like at one point it was half skeletal, half not, and I was like, oh God, that is the stuff of nightmares. It was terrifying looking. And I look over at John and he's just smiling all big and stuff. He's super excited. I'm like, oh, okay. Like that was creepy. I don't know. But then they got the profiles, like the side of the baby's face. And I was like, okay, that's cute. I can do that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can do that. And seeing little hands and feet and stuff was neat. But, yeah, I'm glad the morning sickness stuff, the nausea has stopped. So yeah, now we're just in the headaches and sore hips and
trouble sleeping.
Yeah, trouble sleeping. I've officially entered the phase where I have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Only once?
Yeah,
yes.
As I say, just wait. You'll be waking up like it'll be like a time clock, like every 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you'll have insomnia and just can't sleep anyway.
Yeah. So it's been
That's the
great.
Preparation for getting you ready to wake up with the baby every couple hours.
Yeah.
Well, it's good practice, I guess.
It's like get you used to no sleep.
Yeah. But it has been nice because my oldest cat, Luna, has been super in love with my belly. And so I'll wake up and I'll be sleeping on my side and she'll be all just curled up right next to my belly. So so that's been a nice thing. Yeah. I don't know. So I only gotten far, this far, halfway.
Yeah.
So let's take it to the end. The
birth.
The birthing. Yeah. Well, and you guys have had very different experiences with your birthing stuff too. So yeah. Did you have an idea about like what you wanted it to be, expectations for it?
Definitely.
Yeah, how did it meet those expectations? How did it not?
Well, before I got pregnant, I was like, I think I might try the natural childbirth thing, the no drugs, etc. But then as I was pregnant, I was like, I don't really care. I was like, let's just have this baby. Yeah. But I absolutely knew I did not want a C-section. That was... I really feared having a C-section just because it's a surgery and anything can happen, and I knew that your recovery was longer, and I was adamant I was going to breastfeed, and I did not want to be induced because I knew that if you got induced, or I didn't know, they say it's not really true, but people say that if you're induced, you're much more likely to end up with a C-section. Yeah.
Oh.
And I did not want that to happen, and then I knew with the C-section it would interfere with, I say I knew, I didn't know.
You've read some stuff.
I read some stuff.
Yeah.
And, that it would interfere with breastfeeding and all of that. Well, my son was due on Thanksgiving. The week of Thanksgiving, I worked in retail on my feet all day until that week, and my doctor was like, okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and schedule your induction if you don't have your child by this weekend for Monday, just because the way that hospitals are, you have to schedule so far out to make sure that you have a room and everything. And I was tired of working at this point. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, okay. It's like, we'll do my induction because I don't want to be here anymore. And I got induced, and things were progressing. I did wait to get an epidural, because apparently I was having contractions and didn't know it.
Lucky.
Yeah. That's why he's called Noli Poly, because I just thought he was rolling around, but apparently that was a contraction.
Oh, wow.
But anyways, I went in at 7 o'clock that morning to be induced, and, I was because I wasn't dilated at all, I don't think, before I was induced. I don't remember. But I was dilating until about 3 o'clock. I got up to 5 centimeters. And then for 2 hours, it didn't progress. And at that point, my nurse switched over. And she was like, yeah, I think at 7 o'clock she switched over and I still hadn't progressed any. And she said she called the doctor and the doctor's like, you haven't moved it. It's time to schedule a C-section. And I started bawling, crying and everything. And my doctor actually came in and she checked me herself and she was like, no, you are at 7 centimeters. Let's let it go a little longer. 10 o'clock came that night and I was still at 7 centimeters. And at that point it was time for me to go have my C-section, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Everyone in the OR was extremely nice, though.
That's good.
I did puke in my hair and had to sit with that for a day because couldn't move and couldn't shower. I mean, my first nurse, once I was in recovery, was awesome, but after that, the nurse was terrible. I was incredibly tired because even though I had gone in to be induced at 7 o'clock, I had been awake since 3 o'clock that morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and you couldn't eat either.
Yeah, you can't
eat. They didn't tell me that, and I had a granola bar. Like, your doctor didn't tell you that? I was like, no.
Oh, wow.
But not that a granola bar is anything substantial, but
still.
And I seriously doubt that's what caused me to puke, however many hours later.
Yeah.
Couldn't possibly be all the stress on your body.
Yeah, well, not to be gross, but I think when she was pulling him out, she kind of, jostled my insides a little bit, and it just...
I'll say that, and just, I mean, even the, a lot of the anesthesia that they use can make you extremely nauseous.
Yes, not only that, but afterwards, I was really shaky because I had an epidural, and then if you have an epidural, then you have a C-section. It has to be some other drug. I don't know the details. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, then you can't feel anything basically from your chest down. And afterwards, I just itched so bad.
Oh, wow.
And the nurses were like, really the only thing we can give you is Benadryl, and really all that's going to do is make you tired. And I was like, yeah, I don't need any help with that.
I'm already tired.
Yeah, I'm already tired.
If it'll make the itching stop, sure.
Yeah. And in the hospital, I was adamant I was going to breastfeed. There's going to be no pacifiers. We can laugh about that now.
Yeah.
Just broken the pacifier. But, I breastfed, and at first, it was fine at the hospital. The problem was that I was extremely tired, and I was not producing any milk, and he was latched on for an hour. And then I'd put him down, but then 30 minutes later, he'd want to be attached again. So I had no sleep during all of that. And, I was really itchy. When I was finally able to get up and take a shower, I looked at my face and I had claw marks on my face from scratching.
Oh, wow.
Because I itched so bad from the drugs. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also remember, I don't take pain meds or anything like that for personal reasons, but I was in pain, and I did ask my nurse, the crappy nurse, if I could have some pain meds. And she's like, okay, well, what's your pain level at? It's like...
A lot. Yeah. Huh. Well, I just had a baby via C-section. So...
Well, and I mean, I understand why they have to ask, but I also felt kind of interrogated. And then they do tell you, if you need a break, let us know. We'll come get the baby and take him to the nursery. But then I also felt like I was kind of being shamed for needing that as well. But I was like, I haven't slept at all. I need some sleep.
Yeah.
And they took him, but he was gone for 5 hours. That's a long time for a newborn to be gone. I woke up and I was like, hey. I was like, he hasn't eaten in 6 hours.
Yeah. Where's my baby?
Were they feeding him?
If they did, it would have had to have been formula. They didn't write it down, though.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you're in the hospital, they also make you record how often you're feeding, if you're breastfeeding, which, which side you're feeding them on, how many diapers they've had, like wet and dirty. Like they make you record all of that. And let's see what else. Oh, so I had to take a little class at the hospital too. Yeah. But the I either had to take the class or I had to do some sort of like interview thing with a nurse before I could leave. But the class started when the photographer came in and took pictures for my child. So, for one, I wasn't in a good headspace to take pictures anyway, but that's also why the only pictures that I have of, my newborn son are with his dad.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
But honestly, I really wish I had just, like, advocated for myself a little bit more and told my doctor, no, I want to wait until 42 weeks. It's on, so you can go ahead and schedule it, but schedule it further out. But a lot of it was just, I was tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then nothing went according to plan. Even though I breastfed in the hospital, within 2 days of being at home, I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I'm too tired. He's not, for one, he wasn't really peeing a whole lot, so he wasn't really getting what he needed. And it was also like, once I decided to do formula, it was a few days later and my milk came in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
And I was just like, I was a hormonal wreck and I was just crying and I felt like such a failure because everything went wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that I had planned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all went wrong. I mean, I'm generally a laid back person, and just having that experience now, though, I know that you can
plan as much as you
can
want.
plan as much as you want, but things are going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's no saying that even if I had waited to be induced, that I would have had him in that time, that I would have been able to have a vaginal birth, that I would have been successful in breastfeeding, because you can read all you want, but you don't really know what it's going to be like until it actually happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody's different.
Yeah. And from experiences like yours and other people in my life, that's kind of how I've been trying to approach our birth is like, I would like to do it without an epidural, but we will see.
Yeah.
I would like to do it vaginal, but we will see.
Yeah.
I would like all these things. But we'll see what happens.
For me, the breastfeeding thing was one of the hardest too, though, because I also felt like maybe people were judging me. They weren't. It was me judging myself.
But there is a lot of pressure.
There is a lot of pressure on breastfeeding.
Yeah.
There is.
But I mean, my doctor, she was like, no, I'm glad that you were able to make that decision for yourself.
That is best.
Yeah. She was like, because she was like, I have one person now who thinks that formula is basically poison, and she's, that's what she said. She's like, I have a patient now who thinks that formula is poison, and she's just struggling with breastfeeding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And I knew that his pediatrician didn't care. She was like, what formula is he on? Okay. How much is he eating? Okay. He's gaining weight really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all they care about
Yeah.
is the child thriving.
Yeah.
Okay. You know,
No,
you're
it's-
doing good.
It's
Yeah.
moms that put other pressure on other moms
Yeah.
Yes.
and judge each other.
And so in the end, I just had to be myself and realize, I don't give a shit what people, what people think. It was just the hormones taking over. Yeah.
I know. I feel you though. Well, I guess the only one that I guess wanted to breastfeed was Aiken, our 1-year-old, and because I was so young with the other ones, I was still in high school, the first one. And
You were
everything.
still trying to grow up yourself.
Exactly. So, and then
There's only so much adulting you can do.
and then my husband was deployed, and so and I'm chasing around toddlers, so I already knew that okay, Ashton's going straight on formula. Well, so Aiken, I was like, okay, I'm finally I feel like I'm mature enough. The kids are older, because we have a 6-year gap between kids.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'm finally going to do this. And we get into the hospital, and he's born and everything. And then we kept trying to get him to latch, and he wouldn't latch. And then
Mine latched, but it was after like a day or so. It hurt so bad.
well, they kept telling me that they would have the lactation consultant come in and help me out or whatever. And it took until I refused to leave until I talked to the lactation consultant. And finally somebody came in and they tried to help me out or whatever, and we still couldn't get him latched. Well, eventually, before all that, we ended up having to supplement anyways because his sugar dropped. Because we have different blood types, they wanted to test his blood or something. I don't remember. I was, out of it. But I just remember them saying, hey, his sugar's really low. He's got to eat. Yeah. And so we already started supplementing, but I still hadn't given up. And then, of course, I found out nowhere around here, or at least that I found, carries the insurance approved breast pumps. Because then I was like, well, he's not latching, I'll just pump and feed him that way. And so I ended up having to order it, and it took like 2 or 3 weeks for it to come in. And so by that time,
it was over.
Yeah. I mean, I went and bought one of the little hand pump ones from Target, pumps. And that was a joke. And because and then it ended up I didn't really have any letdown either. I kept trying, and I mean, I was bawling because I was like, that was one of the things that I kept telling Matthew, I'm going to do this. I'm going to breastfeed. Yeah. Granted, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but I have had surgery on, I've had a reduction about a year after our second child was born. And so I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. I mean, I even asked my doctor while I was pregnant, hey, do you think I'll have any complications? And he's like, well, have you had any complications with anything? And I'm like, well, not yet, but
as long as I haven't tried.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have any milk in there right now. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so it was one of those things that we quickly had to decide, okay, this isn't working. He's got to eat. Yeah. So again, fed is best.
Yeah. That does remind me, though, when you were talking about the lactation consultant, I did actually ask for her to come in because it was starting to hurt. Yeah. After the first day, and she was like, "No, everything's good. You're doing everything all right." I'm like,
"Thanks." Yeah. Well, they say that it's not supposed to be. Painful. It's supposed to be, it's not supposed to be painful. It's supposed to be maybe a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was painful.
Yeah.
They were bleeding.
I was going to say, and that's what I've heard is that if it's painful and bleeding, that's normal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're going into it for me.
It's
that's
when you hear both things, you're like,
yeah, exactly. You don't know what to believe because I mean, I've heard about people bleeding, yes, because that's what the whole nipple balm and all that kind of stuff is for, is to help with chapped.
I mean, it probably doesn't help that he was going every hour for an hour.
Yes. Yeah, no, that I would, no.
No. Yeah. He was hungry. Nope. Even when we got him on formula, it was every 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 to 3 ounces every 2 hours. I'm like, you're a newborn.
Chill out, man.
Formula's not cheap.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no. But we kind of bypassed your birth experiences.
Okay. Let's see. Anthony, my oldest, his birth was kind of a breeze. Did I have a plan? No. Again, I was young. I just did whatever the doctor wanted.
Get it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was actually a more chill experience. All 3 of my kids were induced. Anthony was induced 2 days after his due date. His due date was May 3rd. He was born May 5th. Cinco de Mayo. So yeah, we had a big running joke that we were gonna, instead of name him Anthony, we were gonna name him Antonio. But we get there, they hook up the Pitocin. They gave me some type of local anesthetic or whatever for pain. Well, it actually knocked me out. So I slept my whole labor. And then they woke me up and they were like, okay, Emily, again, I was got there at 5. Everything was hooked up and whatnot by 7. And by maybe around noon or so, they were, noon, 1 o'clock, they were like, okay, now would be a good time to get your epidural if you want it. And so I was like, okay. Granted, I'm not gonna lie, it's scary.
Big old needle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't see it. The fact that they make everybody leave the room, you're allowed to have one support person help hold you still because they don't want you to move. And then they make you hold a pillow and hunch over. And
my anesthesiologist was kind of a jerk too. He was like, stop. He was like, don't move. And the nurse was the one who was holding. She's like, she's not moving. Because she was an older lady who came in at that point to hold me, and she was holding me, and I was bent over. She's like, she's not moving.
So yeah, it's pretty freaky. But anyway, so they gave me the epidural, and I passed back out. And,
you slept through your labor.
Yeah, I did. I legit did. Like, they woke me up to check me, and they were like, Emily, you're at 9 centimeters.
It's time
you need to push. Yeah, yeah. And so about
what was that like for you? Because I just remember not being able to feel anything, and like, yeah, well, it's supposed to feel like you're trying to go to the bathroom. I was like, I can't feel anything.
I don't necessarily know if it feels like going to the bathroom, but it's definitely pressure. You can't feel pain, but you can feel the pressure.
Yeah.
And then
like, you don't feel
no.
You fart and you're like, was that me?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, legit, that happened. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, it's fine, it happened. It's like, oh, that was me. Okay. I don't feel anything, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, he was very easy. He was Anthony weighed 8 pounds, 6 ounces. And then Ashton, which again, okay, Anthony didn't plan on breastfeeding. We went straight to bottle, and the recovery time was, it was okay. And then Ashton, again, I was induced, but I was induced early. His due date was Christmas Day. And my doctor was like, hey, he's measuring good. You don't want to be here Christmas. I don't want to be here Christmas. What do you think? And I was like, okay. Which at that time, I knew that I wanted to be induced just because I had this like fear of going into labor, like having the water break and all that. Like that's one of the things I was always scared of. Like
being induced is good because
it's
you know
what's gonna happen. Where I guess that's part of my anxiety is where are you gonna be whenever just all of a sudden and you gotta go. But and plus my husband was deployed, and they had already told us that if we knew if we were going to be induced and everything, they would try their best to make it to where he could Skype. And so I went into the doctor on Monday, and he was like, okay, he goes, I think this Wednesday we're going to have a baby. And I was like, what? I'm like, I knew we were going to plan on inducing, but I didn't think it was going to be like, bam. Yeah. And so luckily, like right after I left the hospital, my husband called me, and so I told him like, hey, this Wednesday we're having a baby. See what you can do. And so he was able to Skype, and for that one it was a little more eventful. I was induced, I was progressing a lot faster. I was same hospital, so same standard procedure, get there by 5. You were all hooked up by around 6:30, 7 o'clock. And by let's see, by 10 or 11, I was already at 8 centimeters. And my epidural did not take. And I kept trying to tell my anesthesiologist, I can feel everything. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. No, I can feel everything. And so with me progressing that fast, it was my mom, my mother-in-law, and then my oldest son, which he was only a year and a half at that time. And we had my aunt on our way to come grab Anthony from us because he didn't need to be in the room and everything. Well, no, my aunt didn't get there in time. Ashton was ready to come out, and so Anthony was in the corner with Cars playing, and when Ashton was born. And I just remember, I remember it going really fast, but it just seemed a lot more dramatic because the epidural didn't take. I could feel stuff. Plus having, my husband on Skype, and my mom's like, pushing the Kindle or whatever, some type of tablet in my face with him, and I'm like, just get everything, like, get away from me. Yeah.
Watch from a distance.
Yes. And then, like, my mother-in-law's got a camera trying to, take pictures and record stuff and whatnot. And, I'm not gonna lie, there was one moment where I guess, like, the amniotic fluid, like, splatted out on my doctor. Yeah, that was weird. But so I just remember it being a little more stressful and traumatic. But the great thing, wow, I said that loud. But the great thing is that afterwards I was able to get up. I was able to take a shower. I cleaned bottles that night, and I felt like I healed a lot faster. I didn't feel like I had to have pain medication. Like, I didn't go get my pain medicine filled until, like, the day after I was released from the hospital. And that was because my aunt was like, Emily, you need to rest. You need to,
just have it.
Yeah.
Just have it on hand.
Yeah.
In case.
And, I was, I don't know. I pushed myself a little bit too much probably with him, just because, I had him on Wednesday. We were released from the hospital on Thursday, and that Sunday I was at my grandmother's for dinner. And, and then let's see.
You were by yourself too.
Yeah. Let's see. And then Aiken, very uneventful. Again, he was induced early. His due date was December 2nd. He was born November 25th. And mainly because I was done. And I'm now, knowing everything that I know, I'm so glad that I did decide to induce, just because, like, I kept telling my doctor, he's going to be a big boy. He's going to be a big boy. Okay, let me take it back. Ashton, my second one, was only 7 pounds 4 ounces. So
pretty average size.
Yes, pretty average. So yeah, I kept telling my doctor, oh, he's going to be a big boy. Like, I can just feel it. Like, I feel like he could just fall out any minute. And
there's no more room in here.
Yeah, and my doctor, he looks like he'll be an average sized baby. Don't worry about it. Kept doing the, ultrasounds.
That measurement ultrasound is
never.
Now,
yes.
my doctor was the other way. She was like, this is all baby. This is going to be a big baby. She was right. The measurement ultrasound before that said, oh, well, he's measuring at like 6 pounds now.
Yeah.
So it's probably, 7 pounds
Yeah.
by the time he comes out. No, he was 8 pounds 9 ounces.
Yeah.
So.
And so luckily my doctor, I was like, I was already dilating, and everything. So he's like, okay, we can go ahead and set you up for, this Sunday. And, if you don't go into labor beforehand and whatnot. So I was like, okay, cool. And don't let your doctor schedule you for Sunday because you're delivering at the same hospital. Yeah. Don't do that. Because then, Sunday is when they have short staff. And so we sat in the waiting room from 5 o'clock in the morning until, I think we didn't get a room until about 8 or 9.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they have to take in whoever comes in actually in labor.
Right.
They're more priority than somebody being induced. So, we finally get a room, and my labor nurse was fantastic.
I really liked my labor.
Yeah.
Because it was the same hospital then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, we got hooked up and everything, played little card games,
It's really
goofed
boring.
off. It is.
It's boring.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
And, again, he progressed pretty fast, and everything. And, he popped out. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what time he was born. Oh, Lord. I want to say
only a year ago.
Yeah, no, it was only a year ago.
A lot happens.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I can remember what time Ashton and Anthony were born, but
the difference is, it was one.
I think
child,
it was like,
two
yeah,
child.
exactly. Now I'm number 3. Stuff gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
How much did he end up weighing?
He ended up weighing 9 pounds 4 ounces,
He's the big boy.
and so I'm so glad that they did take him early, because if I would have went, like, he would have legit been a 10-pound baby.
I was 10 pounds when I was born.
Whew.
Biggest baby in the NICU.
Yep.
Jesus.
10 pounds, 11 ounces or something like that.
God. No. There's Bless your mama. I don't know if there's
normal, like 6 pounds.
Oh, see, no.
I was 6 pounds, like 10 ounces. My brother was 7 pounds. My mother did smoke, so that also contributed to that. But
no, I was 8'9" also.
Yeah.
John was a normal weight too, like 7 or 8. So maybe we'll average out and have
a
a
pretty
normal
You're
size.
both
like an 8-pound baby.
You're both tall people, though.
You might have a long baby.
Yeah, we got 10 ounces right now.
Okay.
Not too big.
But yeah.
You got a while.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. All right. What was it like kind of in the immediate week or so after? Because we're running a little bit out of time.
Terrible.
So we could do about a whole, I'm sure, multiple sessions about postpartum and stuff like that. But so, I guess advice you would give people, because the postpartum is not what people talk about. They talk about getting pregnant
And the birth.
Yeah. And
Dude, I looked into all things about pregnancy and birth and everything, but then it was like right before he was born, I was like, what the hell do you do with a newborn?
Yeah.
what happens when you go home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
Nobody tells you about
it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very, very stressful. You do lose a lot of sleep. So,
I was an angry person.
yeah.
You guys didn't even come see him for like a week. I was not in
Yeah,
a
not
good
in the mood.
headspace. Yeah.
Yeah. So, definitely take up the whole, when the baby sleeps, you sleep. I still do that.
See, for me, I felt like that was the worst advice somebody gave me.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
It's one of those, I was like, that's bullshit.
Oh.
It's like, because I haven't eaten. I haven't
That's true.
showered.
Yeah. You do kind of have to pick and choose
Yeah.
what you want to do. But
And it's so difficult for me to go to sleep, too.
Oh, okay.
So,
See, nope. I'm
By the time you fall asleep, he's awake.
He's
Yep.
awake. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
See, I can. I mean, somewhat. Like, especially during the day. Like, if I know, okay, Emily, you only have an hour to sleep, go.
No, it takes me an hour to fall asleep. So
No.
with him being on a basically 2-hour schedule, feeding him for 45 minutes to an hour, and then it takes me an hour to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm basically falling asleep when he's waking back up.
Yeah.
That sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does
Yeah.
suck.
So that didn't work for you at all.
That
No.
did not work for me.
Yeah.
I will say when you have a C-section, they give you a little abdominal binder thing, and I know a girl that had a C-section who for some reason did not wear hers. I don't know how the hell she didn't, because you can't move. It is painful to sit up and move, and having that, it really helped.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
Yeah, it helps you heal.
All right. So use your binder.
Use your binder.
Another thing I didn't use, with the first two, I didn't do the, what are they called? Like the adult diaper. Depends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this last one I did the sleek, ones with the designs and everything.
I just used the little mesh thingies they sent
Well,
you
see,
normally
yeah,
in the pads.
Yeah, I use those, but I'm not gonna lie, putting on those, like, especially whenever I wanted to wear like my leggings or something that was a little more form fitting, it kind of made me feel like a person ish again. I mean, granted, yes, I am wearing an adult diaper and whatever, but it wasn't, I guess, as bulky as the big long pad and everything.
I did not care. I was tired. I will say too, with having a C-section, you definitely want someone there
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help you, because it's painful to move, and I couldn't do the binder thing by myself.
Well, major surgery like that, you're not supposed to lift anything over 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And you've got already a 7-pound baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, you can lift, hold him and stuff, but I couldn't carry him around in his car seat. I couldn't
Yeah.
carry him around in his car seat. What was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And definitely if you're having any, postpartum feeling, the postpartum depression, it's a real thing.
Yeah, I don't ever feel like I had depression, but I do think that I had some sort of anxiety or something afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, I could just tell that I wasn't really myself. But, I'd go to the doctor and I'd feel fine. There were days where I felt fine. Everything was great. And then there were other days where I was just an absolutely awful, angry person. It's almost, and I was like, well, I don't have postpartum depression because I don't want to harm myself. I don't want to harm my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't always present like that.
No, it
a lot
doesn't.
of times it's like, you don't feel really there.
Yeah.
And, you don't have a whole lot of motivation to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a boss who told me, like, later on, she's like, yeah, she's like, you were really different. And I'm like, well, I kind of wish that people would have said something. And then I had to talk about this with my husband last night because we were coming to do this. And I told him, I was like, I'm not blaming you or anything like that. But sometimes I feel like as a spouse, you should be in tune to how your spouse is. And yeah, he was tired and he was going through all things.
Yeah, being a dad, but
yeah, it's almost if you know that something's not right, you can just call the doctor and like, hey.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but also that is a big thing during pregnancy too, being depressed and whatnot. I didn't realize that apparently, which granted, okay, my last pregnancy was a lot more. I had a lot more stress on me just because of personal things. My husband being on the road and. We decided to move houses, and the house that we decided to get had mold in it. So then we were practically, I was living on my mother's couch being, 7-8 months pregnant, trying to find a new house.
Yeah,
and,
by yourself.
With two kids while we're still trying to do normal activities as far as, baseball.
Your kids are older, but they're still young kids.
Yeah.
I mean.
And so, I had a lot of stress on me, but it wasn't until afterwards, I had a friend come over and she was like, thank God you seem like you're back to normal. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, well, I just, you weren't really yourself. And I was like, well.
And so then I guess,
no shit.
I guess people are afraid to point it out, but
Well, they don't want to upset you or and maybe even like first time dads, they don't know what to expect either, so they're like, well,
I mean, I was
normal.
in denial a lot myself, so and then there's shame associated with it too. So you're comparing yourself to other people and you're just not measuring up.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure with pregnancy and having to be perfect.
Mama.
and know exactly what you need to do and know exactly what your baby needs, and I think that's just so unrealistic. And to be able to do all the things that the Pinterest moms do and the moms you see on TV
and you may not immediately attach to your child. Yes, I felt like I loved him and everything, but it was still such a new experience for me because and having a C-section and everything, it was shaky afterwards. I couldn't even hold him for an hour or two until after I held him. And I don't know that necessarily messed up our bond or anything. Obviously, I love him and he's the greatest thing ever now. But so you may not feel like that with a newborn. I know.
Right, and
I think it's okay to feel like that.
Yeah, I think there's so much pressure.
It's not sunshine and rainbows. It really sucks.
It's not.
Exactly. And that's oftentimes I kind of I'm not shy about that. And then sometimes I feel like people look at me like, what the fuck is your problem?
Yeah.
Because I'm not like, this is just the best, most magical thing ever.
Yeah.
No, it sucks.
Not. Have you watched What to Expect When You're Expecting? Mm-mm. There's a moment where the chick, she's all the women in this movie get pregnant and whatnot, and one of them, she's huge, she's pregnant with I think like twins or something like that, and she's reading at a convention because she owns like a baby store and whatnot. And anyways, she's like, she goes, I'm not gonna lie, this sucks. There's no glow. That's sweat.
Right.
Like,
right.
My hair was really pretty. My hair and my nails, they were fabulous. My skin, on the other hand, it's never recovered.
Yeah. And so, like, people, when I talk about, like, the realness that I'm experiencing, like, this kind of sucks. I'm not sleeping very well. It's uncomfortable. Like, the baby's poking me and it hurts. Like, it's not magical. It's not cute. It hurts.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but it's going to be so worth it. And my response always is, I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I really hated it when people were like, yeah, but it's so worth it. I'm like, 2 years later, I'm like, yeah, it was worth it. But now he has tantrums. I'm just like...
Right. And they're like, oh, well, this will be so worth it. I don't know. We'll see. When they're like, 18 out of the house, going to college. And
maybe then you'll be like, okay, it was worth it.
I raised a good human.
That being said, they aren't newborns for a very long time. It does feel like when they are. But, I mean, looking back now that he's 2, it really did go by fast. But I also don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah, you don't.
And I think that's Mother Nature's way of making sure you continue to procreate. But
yeah. I was just say that was probably the one thing that I feel like, especially with my first, being a teenager and everything, like, I didn't soak up him being a newborn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so whenever I had my second one, I tried my hardest to, remember all these little things and to soak up every moment of it. And to the point of where, like, I had legit anxiety right before giving birth to Aiken because
about like filling out her baby.
Yeah, that he was.
And,
well,
yeah.
no, not just that, but like with because Ashton had been my baby for so long. Like
Yeah.
he was the youngest, and that's
and
what
I mean, I know that everyone is like, you know, you have your second and you'll love them too, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, I love this little person
I was
so
gonna say,
much.
yeah.
I can't imagine there being another little
Yeah.
person.
But like, especially because my mother-in-law, like, she was a middle child, so she kind of put like the fear of, you know, like the middle child syndrome and whatnot. And so,
Do you have that?
No. I don't
yeah.
think
So,
I think you do.
so, so like, I just have this, you know, I had that fear of, you know, what if he thinks I don't love him? Like, I would not buy a shirt that was like, you know, best brother, because I'm like, no, he's got, you know, they're all boys, like, they're
Yeah.
all great. And,
Yeah, they're
you
all
know,
great brothers.
Yeah. And so, like, I didn't want to, like, single this baby out because I didn't want to make Ashton jealous.
Yeah.
And, you know, because, you know, they're already going to be jealous just because the baby does get more attention. Just because it's a baby, it needs more attention.
Yeah.
And
as a child, you don't really understand that.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
you don't.
yeah.
And, I mean, just to, like, the same, you know, we're still struggling with that. Like, and so, like, that's why I
Because
think.
he still needs a lot of attention.
Yeah, he does.
Well,
Well, now
get
it's.
away with more things.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a baby.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah. So right now it's, you know,
Well,
they
why
don't-
can he do that and I
Yep.
can't do that? I'm like, he
Yep.
doesn't know any better.
why do we have to, you know, why does every room have to be shut off with a gate? We're trying to protect him because
Why do we have
he's
to be,
already
Why
adventurous.
do we have to be quiet right now?
Yep.
Because he's trying to sleep and I need him to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. So again, that we could talk about this forever
Yeah.
and different aspects of it. But yeah, so we're out of time. That's kind of our experiences with pregnancy and birth and everything so
Short
far.
snippet of it at least.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So just knowing that your experience is going to be your own and it may not.
May not go the way you want.
Yeah.
It
It may not
go
be what
the
you expect.
exact way you don't want it to.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I have a healthy 2-year-old who was formula fed and was a C-section. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine now.
Yep.
He's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of information out there, a lot of people who try to be experts when they're not.
Yes.
And a lot of people who want to use fear as a tactic to get you to do one thing or another. And so you just have to kind of figure out what
What works for you?
Yep.
what works for you, what is going to get you and your baby through this the healthiest, safest way possible.
Yep.
And that is ultimately what it comes down to. And the only thing that matters. And if someone wants to tell you otherwise, then they don't really need to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got no problem cutting people out or not giving them information because they're not going to be supportive. I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything wrong with protecting yourself in that way.
Not telling people the gender if you know it.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening again, guys. We'll probably do more of these. Yeah, putting out new stuff every Sunday. Hopefully this continues.
For as long as it can.
Right. Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.